Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
This podcast may contain listener graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
I remember as a child at night, I had just gone to bed. My mother just put me to bed, and I could see the lights on in the living room. I just laid down for bed. I could hear my parents, I could hear the television, and I looked up, and to my right, I saw a couple, very shadowy, very dark, in my bedroom. A man and a woman, and they started walking towards me. It was very frightening. I couldn't speak. I wanted to call out to my mother. I couldn't call out to her. I was just terrified. And right about that time, she walked into the room, and it appeared that she walked directly through the two people that were standing. As soon as I become aware that there's someone in the room, I'll go into a paralysis, and I can't move, I can't shout out, I'm unable to call for help.
In the room. I was paralyzed in the bed. He seemed like a shadow. Probably about 6'5", well over 6 foot, very tall. There was something on my chest, sitting on top of my chest. The lady was old and haggard. She had straggly gray, kind of an old woman standing in front of me.
And there was an old lady.
This just was not a nightmare. I know that I am awake when this happens.
Can't escape from this entity that has entered your room.
It's a feeling of perhaps the greatest terror that one can imagine.
And you're listening to the Alien Strand podcast with Donald Ledesma. Catch my channel, Mars Discoveries 123 on YouTube. Hit me a like and subscribe. I'll see you there.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Alien Strand podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. So today we're doing episode number 49. It's called the Sleep Paralysis Effect. This is going to be a very important topic, a nice learning process for us all, as most of us have gone through. But before we get going, I'd like to welcome everybody to Alien Strand Podcast. You can catch us on about 22 to 23 platforms already. You can catch us on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and alienstrand.com. Go check us out there. Also, we have the Alien Strand app, so if you want to download that app, you can just go to alienstrand.com, go to the lower part of the page. You'll be able to download it right there for you, for your Android phones right now. We don't have it for Apple yet, but you can still download it. You'll be the first one to catch all the episodes as they come out. Also, if you want to be a guest on the show, you can give me a call at 361-245-8000. Again, that's 361-245-8000. If you want to be a guest on the show, you've contacted spirits, you've contacted ETs, aliens, UFOs, Bigfoot, anything of the unknown that you think that everybody wants to listen to and hear about your story, we'd be glad to get you on the show. Also, I have just recently put out a small doc. It's on YouTube for Alien Strand. So if you type in Alien Strand there on your YouTube, you'll see it. It's going to be called Skinny Bob Chronicles. Again, it's going to be Skinny Bob Chronicles there on YouTube. Check it out. Subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to pick up the channel a little bit more, and I'm going to start making a little bit more documentaries. Hopefully, I'm going to get the main one that I wanted to get on there pretty soon. But during this COVID, we had to shut down, so I can't do too much filming. But other than that, I'm going to try to get out as much information as I can for you guys. But I really do appreciate that you guys are tuning in to our YouTube channel. There's also one podcast on there so far. I haven't put any more up yet, but I'll get some more up there as the channel grows. Okay, but thank you so much for that. Like I said, also, we're going to have some guests on the show coming up pretty soon. We're going to have the UFO man. I contacted him. He's going to give me a call. And then we're going to set up an interview for next week. One of my podcast interviewers got delayed a little bit, so we had to push that off a little bit. Sorry about that, but we're going to get him on the show for the hybrid theory on that one. So we're going to try to get him going soon. So as soon as we get him on the phone, probably in a few weeks, he's in Paris, and we're having a little time zone issue, work schedule. But we'll get him on the show for you guys. But we're gonna have a UFO man coming on pretty soon. We'll have him on the show, and we're gonna be talking a lot of good UFO stuff, a lot of his videos, things that are gonna be coming up. Tune in for that show. That's going to be the next one after this show, okay? So he's going to be actually number 50, which is going to be awesome. He gets to get the big 50 for Alien Strand Podcast. So today, there's a topic that always comes up, especially with UFO and UFO encounters, alien abductions, even nightmares, things of nightmares, and it's always this sleep paralysis or mainly paralysis, right? So, and I think that the sleep paralysis and the paralysis that you get through abductions are possibly linked together. It's not basically asleep. You're not asleep, but you're half awake when it happens, right? So I wanted to talk about this today, and I wanted to bring this information out to you guys so you can learn as we go on sleep paralysis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the scientific aspect of it, how the scientists have broken this down for you, and what it means. Okay, so the definition of sleep paralysis is a state during waking or falling asleep in which a person is aware but unable to move or speak. During an episode, one may hallucinate, hear, feel, or see things that are not there, which often result in fear. So a lot of these cases that you hear about and you see about when you're in that sleep paralysis mode, it scares the heck out of you, right? Because you're in that state where you're locked down, you can't move. So episodes generally last less than a few minutes. Usually a few minutes. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime on those episodes. But what triggers this paralysis? What actually triggers this? And it's most likely to occur during adolescence, or stress, jet lag, sleep deprivation, or a panic disorder. So these are the things that trigger this sleep paralysis when it happens, right? So over the centuries, the symptoms have been described in many ways and often attributed to an evil presence. Like unseen night demons. This is how they talked about it in the past centuries, right? Because they didn't know what it was. Because people were screaming in their dreams, they couldn't move. So that was the only way that they could interpret that kind of paralysis, right? Was calling it as an evil presence. So people have looked for explanations on paralysis and accompanied by feelings of terror, right? Because that's what you're going through when your body has experienced that in your mind.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
How does it happen? It says when a person passes between stages of wakefulness and sleep. So in other words, you're in between of waking up and sleeping. Some people feel pressure on their chest or choking. Why does this happen? Some sleep disorders, such as narcolepsy, trigger it as well. When does this occur? It occurs one of two times while falling asleep, called hypnagogic or predormital. Waking up is called postdormital sleep paralysis. So these are the definitions of that sleep paralysis: when you're falling asleep and when you're waking up, and when it happens. So what happens with hypnotic sleep paralysis? What happens there? So during sleep, your body alternates between REM, REM, which is rapid eye movement, or NREM, which is non-rapid eye movement. One cycle of REM and NREM sleep starts about 90 minutes. So NREM sleep occurs first, and it takes up to 75% of your overall sleeping time. During NREM, your body relaxes and restores itself. So at the end of your body sleep, it shifts to REM. Your eyes move more frequently. Dreams occur. Body remains relaxed. Your muscles are turned off. REM. So if you become aware before REM cycle has finished, you may notice that you can't move or speak. So this is the paralysis part, right? So in other words, you're in between. This is why you can't move at all. Up to 4 out of every 10 people may have sleep paralysis or experienced it, right? And what is it? Lack of sleep, sleep schedule changes, bipolar disorder, sleeping on your back, narcolepsy or leg cramps, even ADHD meds, or substance abuse. These are all possible triggers as well. I know I mentioned some in the beginning, but these are some others. So, what is the evilness that we experience? What is evil? What is that word phrase when it comes to these sleeping disorders? What we feel when we've hit that part of REM. So in Brazil, these are the countries these are the names that they call it. In Brazil is a pisaderia, which is a creature with long nails, and it's on rooftops. In Spain, it's the pes anata, which is a black animal, dog, or cat-like creature. Most Canadians or in Canada, they call it the old hag. This is the one that sits on your chest. These are the different terms of that sleep paralysis that people experience. In Vietnam, they call it Laos, which is the pressing spirit. So notice they all have that almost the same kind of meaning, which is something on your chest, something dark, something black, something evil. And in the phrase in Mexico, they always say that it's like a dead body climbed on top of me. A lot of people experience this phenomenon. It happens to us, to most of us. And I'm going to give you a story. So in East Village, in New York City, in 2016, this gentleman, his name was Ted Philopon. Age was 25. Was constantly being punched, scratched, thrown off the bed, constantly. He would have this sleep paralysis. He would see black or gray smoke next to his pillow. It would attack him nightly, on a daily basis. It affected his sleep. He was always awake. And then the depression set him. He couldn't hold down a job because of it. So what he did was he turned to the church for help. He met a father, a priest there. His name was Pat Maloney. This gentleman witnessed these events that happened to him. Father said, when he walked close to me on our first meeting, I felt a strong presence of some kind. He says it didn't feel malevolent, but it felt like it was attracting some force outside our dimension. Mind you, this is coming from a priest. So Ted's girlfriend also saw the encounters. She said one day she was in the living room, looking towards the bathroom. She saw a grayish silhouette walking out of the bathroom. She says, I couldn't tell if it was male or female, but it was tall and grayish. She said it went walking towards Ted's bedroom. But Ted was sitting next to her, right? And he told her, did you see that? said, yes, I saw that. That's when they started believing what was happening to him. So the doctors believed that Ted's paralysis because he had a bad childhood or sleep deprivation, right? But this is the key right here. Since it was witnessed by others, it can't be explained. Right? You know, it's when one is having paralysis, feeling and seeing with others in the room, seeing the same thing, but they are not having paralysis, there is no explanation for that, right? That's where the scientific aspect of it goes away. I mean, how can you explain that? I mean, we first heard all this, the breakdown of what happens to your brain, what happens in your sleep, how long it takes, how much percentage it takes, right? But now we're hearing the other people that were witnessing it were not asleep. They were seeing the same thing. So Father said, Maloney said, he tried everything. Prayers, holy water, but nothing worked. And all he told Ted was, you're going to have to revisit your faith to help fix this problem.
Lean on us.
We are here for you.
You matter.
You are not alone.
Are you feeling overwhelmed? Not sure where to turn? The National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there for you 24/7. Call or text 988 or chat at 988sc.org. Whether you're having an emergency or you know someone who needs support now, they can help you take the next step towards finding hope and healing.
There is hope. 988sc.org.
So we have to think about, you know, when it can be scientifically explained, and in this case, it can't. I mean, is it a spiritual thing? In his case. But there are 4 types of paralysis and hallucinations. One is called the intruder, right? A sense of a threatening presence accompanied by a visual, an auditory, and a tactical, with noises, footsteps, gibbering voices, humanoid apparitions, or being touched or grabbed. It's the first type. Second type of hallucination is called an incubus. Breathing difficulties, feeling of suffocation, body pressure, chest, pain, and thoughts of death. There's one called vestibular motor. This is the sensation of floating, levitation, flying, or falling. Most of us have that one. You ever had those kind of dreams to where you're falling asleep and you wake up and it feels like you're falling? That quick second? Well, that's that one. Vestibular motor. And there's the out-of-body experiences. They call it autoscopy. This is when you're seeing yourself from an external point of view. What you always hear people talk about when they've passed away and they come back, that's what that is. affective motor movements from simple arm movements to sitting up. So that's the other. Those are the 4 types of sleeping paralysis hallucinations. This is what you go through. This is what a lot of people experience when they're going through sleep paralysis, right? You know, we have this type, right? What I just talked about with the priest, this gentleman getting beaten, thrown off his bed. People actually witnessing these things. That's a spiritual aspect of it, I believe, possibly. Inner demons. So what happens on aliens and abductees, right? What happens during this process? Because they do go through some kind of paralysis the same way. So on one of my past podcasts, I have this abductee. His name was Calvin Parker. His experience happened on October 11th, 1973 in Pascagoula, Mississippi. You know, when they talk about the alien part of it, or the alien abductions, and they try to figure out why they're having these paralysis, and a lot of these newer doctors and new studies have said because they've watched alien movies, they're into science fiction, they're reading scary books or whatever before they go to bed, so they get these things implanted in their mind. So when they go through therapy, these memories come out. In other words, you're making them up in your mind. But in 1973, Calvin Parker, he never believed in aliens or seen anything like that. And he was abducted. A friend of his named Charles Nelson, while fishing off the dock. Hickson. And this happened at 6 p.m. And the thing about this story with Calvin Parker and his friend was when they both went into paralysis, they were both wide awake and they were experiencing everything. The feel, the touch, the fear. Floating. Going into the ship. They didn't have to go into hypnosis to tell this story. They were wide awake. Both of these gentlemen were. And if you want to get into that story, go back to one of my past podcasts. That's episode number 10. Go check that out. It'll go into detail on that story. But I'm connecting the dots. I'm connecting how this paralysis is kind of in tune with the alien abduction paralysis. You're not asleep, but you're awake. There's another story that ties into this as well. And her name was Betty Andreasen on her abduction. Hers happened on January 25th, 1967, Ashburn, Massachusetts. So in that story, right, there were 10 people in the house. 7 children, plus mom, dad, and herself. And this was at 7 p.m. in the evening while she was washing dishes in the kitchen. This episode happened. So in that episode, they say that 5 aliens approached the door after they saw the bright light in the kitchen. So everybody's awake, mind you. And then she said that those 5 extraterrestrials entered the front door. They went through the front door. They didn't break it down or nothing. They went through it. And they were inside the home. So in that story, now listen to this. The entire family was put into suspended animation like paralysis. So in other words, everybody was locked in. They couldn't move. They could see what was going on, but they couldn't move. Suspended animation. Everyone that was in that living room area. Mind you, this is 1967. They didn't even know about aliens in this story at all. And in this story, Betty was taken aboard a craft. Right? And when they brought her back, after they did all those experiments on her, everybody was still in suspended animation. So they were in a paralysis kind of state, right? Couldn't move. But years later, her daughter confessed. But not of only being under paralysis. But she remembers watching and seeing the whole thing take place and unfold in front of her, right? And this was her daughter, Becky. You know, and I've always thought about this, that extraterrestrials, when they put you under paralysis like that, a lot of people, when they take them or they abduct them, where they can't move, but they could see, that they wipe their minds, but they can't do it to everyone. Just some of them. And on some stories, they don't get to put them in any kind of paralysis. I don't know if you remember the Betty and Barney Hill story. I always bring it up. The only reason why, because they had Barney under paralysis, in a sense. But Betty wasn't. She was wide awake. She was talking to them, having conversations with them. And that's the difference on that kind of paralysis, that you know, you have to put together between a scientific aspect of paralysis, what we go through in a dream or in a nightmare state, than what actually occurs when people are standing and watching this as it unfolds in front of you. So what kind of paralysis is that? Why haven't they not figured that out yet? In other words, why is some paralysis scientifically explained, right? And others not explainable, especially when they're witnessed by others. Where's the science in that, right? You know, not everybody believes in a lot of things until they can see it for themselves. They can feel it for themselves. They can touch it for themselves. In other words, seeing is believing, right? Just like when you're into ufology. you'll see a lot of people in groups trying to figure out if it's real or it's not. And there's so many doubters out there. Because if they don't see it, and they don't touch it, and they don't smell it, and they don't feel it themselves, they're not a believer. But in this sense of paralysis, when you're standing there next to somebody, watching them getting beat up, scratched, in a sense of paralysis where they cannot move, that's something different. Has the ETs or extraterrestrials learned how to tap into our paralysis, right? Have they learned how to tap into that? And yeah, I think they have, because they do it all the time. They can control some, but they can't control all humans when it happens. Do spirits, demons, interdimensional beings tap into our psyche to communicate or plant fear? Yeah, I think they do. It's things that we experienced, especially like sleep paralysis. I have experienced that. I've experienced an awful one. Maybe 20 years ago, I believe. We were having a lot of bad things happen in the house. To me, it seemed like sort of like a bad entity, you can say. It was just, there was like a dark, heavy feeling in the house at the time. My children were small, but I was asleep in my room, and it was dark. We didn't have the lights on. We sleep total pitch black. So when I opened my eyes, I heard the fan, because we had a fan in that room. I heard it get knocked over, and I was trying to see what it was, but when I went to get up, I couldn't. It was locked down. Arms, chest, legs, feet, my head. All I can move was my eyes. And just imagine what was there. And just like you, I'm human just like anybody else. When you see something in the dark, a silhouette or anything like that, your mind plays tricks on you too. And you can think something's standing there or moving, but it's not. But in that sense, it just seems so real. The part of it is where I could not move, right? And the fear that I was feeling, and I was trying to scream and I couldn't. I couldn't scream at all, and that was the horrible part of it, that I couldn't scream. And I felt like I was being held down for, I don't know, at least 5 minutes. It could have been less. But I remember that well. And that's not the first time I experienced that. That was some pretty scary stuff there. I mean, as soon as I woke up, of course, what's the first thing we do is turn on all the lights in the house. What the heck's in here? What's going on? Needless to say, I haven't had an episode like that in a long time. But I'm like you out there that's listening. I've experienced this. I know what it feels like. It's a horrible feeling. And I wanted to bring this topic up because I thought it was important, because it coincides not just with extraterrestrials, but it coincides with us all, in a sense, to where this is what we're experiencing, right? I mean, even post-traumatic stress disorder can trigger this as well. Everything can. Stress, I talked about it in the beginning. Sleep deprivation. You know what? There's a lot of things that can trigger this. And why we go through this, why our bodies go through this, when we catch ourselves right in between of sleep and waking up, you know, we probably will never really understand. But what could be a possibility is that you could be like, when your body or your mind is in that mode, you could be actually probably having sort of like an out of body, being in that dimension to where you're more vulnerable to be attacked, right? In that sense, right? It's a possibility on the spiritual side of that, where these interdimensional beings can come through on that part of it as well. And that's the hard part to understand about sleep paralysis. I hope you guys got a lot of information out of this podcast today. I thought it was super important to bring this topic up so we can all understand exactly what happens to our bodies during this part, or what episodes we go through in that sense, and what we can do to possibly fix that. And help not have those episodes of sleep paralysis. If you're having more than one per day, or if you're having more than one a week, seek help. Seek some kind of help to help you get through this, or to see if there's a way that you can make this go away. Not a good feeling at all. Not a good feeling. But I hope you guys got a lot of information out of it, as I did. You know, if you hadn't heard about it, if you didn't know about sleep paralysis, well, now you do. And you learned it here on Alien Strand Podcast. And thank you guys for sticking around. And thank you guys for listening to Alien Strand Podcast. You know, this has been my pleasure for bringing this information out to you guys, because I enjoy this very, very much. And I like giving this information out, you know, because it just makes you feel a little bit smarter sometimes, right? Or when you're in ufology, you know, you can, somebody asks you a question, bam, you already got the answer. You already know what to say because you heard it on today's episode. So if you have a chance, go back and catch a couple of my episodes on these abductions, right? Once you get into them stories, you can just keep going forward and go through as many of these episodes as you can. Tell your friends, share it. Go to Alien Strand there on YouTube. Go check out the Skinny Bob Chronicles that I have there. Check out that video. Give me a like there, thumbs up, you know, share it, subscribe. I really need more subscribers on that, and that way I can get some more content out, okay? So, but, you know, I really enjoyed today's podcast. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. And I really do appreciate you guys downloading the Alien Strand app. Thank you for that too. I mean, it's free for you, free for everybody, okay? So share that as well. Go to Alien Strand there on Facebook. Catch all the new stuff that comes out. Like I said, if you want to be on the show, just call me on that number or click that call now button, and you'll be able to call me straight. I'll get you on the show. You can instant message me if you want. You can send me pictures, videos through that instant messenger as well, or through my email, okay? So, but until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
Hi, we are Melanie
and Ian
from ET Connections on YouTube and mountain-gate.com.
And you're listening to the Alien Strand podcast with Donald Ledesma.
Catch us on YouTube and hit like and subscribe.
We'll see you there.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.